A very good day to all of you out there. This is Admav here with another episode of Admav's Corner. Hello everyone and welcome on this June 30th, 2023. It is a Friday, and despite the smoke from the wildfires this year, this summer, I would still call it a beautiful Friday. It's another day that we're alive. If you're listening to this, you're alive. I'm alive. We woke up again today, this morning, and that's something to be grateful for, honestly. And I know sometimes it's hard to do, but you have another day, another chance to experience life, live life, and grow, really. And I say that genuinely, even for those that are going through not so great times, where it feels like waking up another day doesn't feel like a gift, doesn't feel like a blessing, and it doesn't feel like you should be grateful for it at all, because you would have rather not woken up. I hear you, and I'm sorry that you're having such a hard time and having such a challenging time right now if you're feeling that while listening to this. And I hope that you're able to hang in there and get through. It's the end of June right now, so we're well into the summer, and it just feels like the summer is flying. It's passing us by. And that's how it's felt for the last few years, as many of you, or maybe as I should say, as some of you might experience, time just keeps going by faster and faster, it seems like, every single year. And that's a very common occurrence. You know, according to a study that I had read, it is believed that the reason why it feels like time goes by faster as we age is because we experience less novel things. We experience less new experiences. And so we sort of get stuck into this sort of routine, this daily routine, this monthly routine, which then ultimately becomes this yearly routine, and further than that, a decade routine. And it's crazy because it does just feel like that. And so you kind of have to do your best to, and this is something I've talked about previously, is to be in the present moment, so you're able to appreciate the time that is elapsing in front of your eyes. But another thing on top of that, you know, of being grateful and being present, and this sort of continues on from the last couple of podcasts that I've recorded, and something that I've thought about. As I've mentioned in recent episodes, I feel like there are changes coming, or they're already on the way. And I feel like this tight group of friends that I've been with for so long, things are shifting a little bit. Now, I'm not saying that these things that are shifting are going to be permanent changes. I'm sure some of them will, but maybe some of them will remain temporary. But I feel like maybe we'll start seeing each other less, and it'll be harder to plan things. And I know that some of you listening might have felt this or experienced this at one point or another. This is definitely not the first time for me, but right now it feels different. If last year, and I talk about this in I think the first podcast I recorded this year. If last year for me was transition, like this change, this moment of going from one thing to another, this year is about getting to that other place that I was transitioning from. And I think a lot of my friends, if not most of my friends, are going through something like that. And that's going to result in change, and change can be challenging many times. So I really got to thinking about relationships that you have in your life. And I don't just mean that in the romantic sense, like your partner, whether it's a boyfriend or girlfriend or anything else within that realm. Relationships are fleeting. Um, I know there are relationships that last for life. People throughout history certainly have had those. I think I think when I pondered upon this, it's not that I'm saying that all relationships at some point will, well, I mean, technically they do, but I'm not saying that all of them will come to an end. And I'm not even saying that maybe when it comes to an end that it's going to be permanent. I'm just saying that you never know. Relationships can change so quickly. It's a very dynamic thing. Uh, I'm very lucky in that the main group of friends that I've been friends with since I was a young teen. I met them in elementary school, and to this day, we're still very close, and we spend a lot of time with each other still. I mean, obviously, not as much as we did back in high school or subsequent years after high school, because now most people have their own lives, their own careers, their own families. I mean, it gets tougher, right? Because we have added relationships as we go along, especially when we have our partners. Um, because then we take on their relationships as well as their familial relationships, and it becomes harder to find time for all of that, right? And so, any time that you get, honestly, whether at this time you're still seeing friends frequently or you're seeing them infrequently, and not just friends, even family, even those that are just, I believe that most relationships that you develop leave an impact on you, a lasting impact, whether that impact is minimal or maximal. I think it leaves an impact, and whether we like it or not, I think it sort of helps shape the type of person that we are. I'm not saying that it determines the type of person that we are or that we become, but it definitely helps shape it. And so when I think about that, I think about how precious those very small moments are. Or when I say very small, I say, let's say you find time to have a gathering, let's say for a birthday party, celebrating something. I know it's not, when you celebrate that time, you might spend several hours with each other, so it's not really short, but in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of your life, it is a very small amount of time. And those small windows of time, sometimes we could take that for granted, right? Like when we're in the moment, we're just kind of like, oh, it's just another gathering. But really, you never know. It could be the last. It could be the last in a very long time. It could be the last you interact with those people that you have relationships with, in terms of interact physically, person to person. Of course, there's always the internet, and there's many ways of communication, right? The various chat platforms, social media platforms. There's an endless amount of ways that you can still stay in communication, which is a very beautiful thing, which is a very cool thing about the modern age. But it's still different when you're able to see them and spend time with them in person. And your relationships in your life, they change, and they could go, or they can even return, right? And when you have that chance, when you have that ability to spend time, especially when it starts to become more infrequent, you really have to cherish those moments. You really have to register every little thing going on, even the more mundane moments, even the more quiet ones, because, and I talked about this previously, that's gone. As soon as it happens, it's history. And it's going to be sad when you look back and you reminisce and you wished that those people were still around, those friends were still around. And I know you're going to end up feeling that anyway, regardless. But it's better to have appreciated that moment or those moments as they were happening, as they were developing and unfolding. Because you may not have that chance again. You know, think of it this way. And I've definitely experienced this. I've had friends in the past where I don't know, I haven't spoken to them since then. I don't know them anymore. And at some point in the past, there was a final interaction that I'm not even aware of. I don't know what that final interaction was before we had stopped really communicating and seeing each other. And then, before you know it, it's been years, right? Yeah, I've definitely had a few of those. Most of them from when I was much younger. And even some as an adult. So, I'd like to challenge you to sort of reflect on that, to think about that, to think about the relationships you have in your life, what they mean to you. Whether it's a familiar relationship or a platonic relationship or a romantic relationship. I challenge you to sort of just reflect on those relationships and think about it. Their importance to you, what they've done for you in your life, what they've taught you, the negatives, the positives, more importantly. Actually, they're both important as they may have taught you things that you now have implemented in your life. But yeah, just like the summer months, just like the fleeting short months of summer, relationships can be just the same. They can be beautiful, but they can be short-lived. And you just have to appreciate every single day that passes by, every time the sun goes up and every time the sun goes down. Every time you're able to interact with these relationships, be in these relationships. Appreciate every second. Appreciate every moment. That's all I have for today. I thank you guys for listening. I love you. I'm so happy that you all still, whoever's listening, still listen to this podcast. It has helped me and continues to help me sort through my thoughts and share how I feel and how I think about things. And hopefully that gives you some sort of perspective, whether it's like a different perspective, outside perspective, or maybe inspires you to create your own new perspective. And honestly, it's an honor to be part of any of that. And yeah, it's an honor to have some kind of impact, whether it's small or large. Take care, everyone. I'll see you all soon.